Hi everyone. Today I wanted to talk to you about one of my favorite Rolex models, and probably one you have never heard of, the Rolex King Midas. Released in 1964, it signified an important time in the history of Rolex, where it was transitioning from a watch worn by athletes and explorers to a watch worn by actors and celebrities. It was the most expensive model in Rolex's lineup at the time. I'll firstly be talking about the history and design of the watch, then the movement, price and collectability, and finally the notable people who have worn this watch, including the king himself, before I conclude. There are timestamps in the description below, so feel free to jump to whichever part you find most interesting. The King Midas is a peculiar name. It is in reference to the mythical Greek king of Phrygia, who it is said was able to turn anything he touched to gold. Suitably, the entire watch case and bracelet is constructed using 18-karat gold. The King Midas was designed by Gerald Genter, the man behind some of the world's most iconic designs, including the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak and the Patek Philippe Nautilus. As with those models, the Royal Oak inspired by a diving helmet and the Nautilus inspired by the porthole of a ship, the King Midas is inspired by the design of the Pantheon Temple of Athena in Greece. If you lay the watch flat on its side, crown facing up, you can see how the bracelet links relate to the columns of the Pantheon, and the triangular case represents the temple roof. The crown grooves are soft and curved, rather than more typically straight and sharp, resembling the sun, with the lettering King Midas etched into the case side. The box, it is rumoured, was produced by Genter in France without the knowledge of Rolex. The outer box is gold and white and decorated with mythical Greek figures, whereas the inner box is shaped like a traditional Greek urn in black and orange. It is certainly like no other Rolex box I have ever seen. The watch comes in either 18-karat yellow gold or white gold versions. It is orientated for wear on the right arm instead of the typical left arm, as the crown is situated on the outer side if worn on the right arm. Due to its all-gold construction, it weighs in at a hefty 185 grams and considered one of the heaviest gold wristwatches on the market. The case diameter stands at 28 mm and is just 4.35 mm thick, a reflection of the smaller watches worn during this time. It is a non-oyster case and therefore has no stated water resistance. The watch dial comes in either a champagne matte finish with yellow gold hands or a grey matte finish with white gold hands, depending on model. Midas is written in Greek lettering on the dial. The dial features no hour markers or numerals and sits behind a sapphire crystal rather than acrylic, which was much more common at the time. The movement in the King Midas began as a caliber 650 manual wind. This movement, again peculiarly, was produced by Blancpain rather than Rolex. This was replaced in later models with a 651 18-jewel movement. If this watch hasn't surprised you yet, perhaps the next fact will. It can be found in good condition on the used market for £8,500 or $10,500. This may seem expensive for a 60-year-old watch, but I think it's a steal, particularly when you compare it to the prices of other, less unique, more mainstream, vintage Rolexes. You should also consider that this watch was produced as a limited edition, with only 1,000 of the reference 9630 produced, and a similar amount of the later model 3580 produced. The King Midas cases were later used in the non-limited edition Rolex Cellini range. You can easily tell the difference between the two models, as a Rolex Cellini does not feature the Midas text on the dial. They are also, consequently, much cheaper. The King Midas range is also complemented by the Queen Midas and the Princess Midas, which are smaller versions of the watch made for females. This watch has been worn by a number of actors, singers, and celebrities. John Wayne, the famous American actor, was an owner of the King Midas. His particular watch, the number 557, later sold in 2011 for $26,290 at auction. Francisco Scaramanga, the villain, played by Christopher Lee in James Bond, The Man with the Golden Gun, is also seen wearing the Cellini version of this watch. Finally, the king himself, Elvis Presley, was a proud owner of this watch. He was gifted the watch after 6 straight sold-out shows at the Houston Astrodome. There are several pictures of Elvis with the watch, and it is clear he wore it regularly, as a dial of the original watch, which can still be seen at his Graceland ranch, has oxidized as a result of water ingress. In conclusion, I think this is a fantastic, unique Rolex unlike any other the brand has made previously or since. Its relationship with Greek mythology and the design by Gerald Genter are the main reasons this watch is one of my grails. It is by no means perfect. In fact, in some ways, it's sort of absurd that an £8,500 watch doesn't tell the time particularly well with its lack of hour markers. But that was the last thing the King Midas was designed to do, and if you understand that, you'll understand this watch. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to stay in touch. All the best, Rashid.